The Joy Unleashed show empowers and inspires women to reclaim their joy. We provide tools, resources, and connections to help you unlock your true potential through engaging conversations, expert insights, and transformative stories. We create a vibrant and inclusive community where women can break free from the limitations that hold them back. I'm joyologist Coleen Greco, and it is my honor to be your host. Let's get right into the show. If you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you don't quite know your purpose, or maybe you know it, but you just can't find the path toward it. If you're uncomfortable in your own skin and want to finally master self-love, then we need to talk. I'm Coleen Greco, and I'm your joyologist. I help women just like you to reclaim the joy they feel is missing in their life through mindset coaching and nutrition coaching. Whether you have weight to lose or simply need to get your gut in check, I've got you. We'll work together to retire limiting beliefs. Those are the stories that are keeping you from your purpose. I need you to hear me. Those are the stories that we need to get rid of in order to get you on your path to your purpose. We will work together to get you that life you've always dreamed of. It would be my honor to connect with you. Reach out to me via Instagram at @theColleenGreco or email Colleen@ColleenGreco.com. Let's get you back to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Joy Unleashed. I'm Coleen Greco, your humble host and your joyologist. And today I am so excited. We have such a special treat for you. We have Sue Costello. She is amazing. She's a comedian. She's a Boston native. It doesn't get any better than that. Welcome to the show, Sue Costello.
Hi.
Hey, happy Monday. I was going to say happy Monday. It is not Monday.
Friday.
Maybe it's Monday when they're watching it. We don't
feel
know.
like I have to be like, it's a joy podcast. I'm like,
you just come as you, because this is the thing, there are people that will say, well, like, you're not like a super big cheerleader kind of person. I'm like, that's not what joy is. So joy is just your inner essence. So
yes.
You be Sue, and that is enough joy for everybody. It's you worry.
A lot of joy. People sometimes they're like, listen, I want to be miserable. Get away from me.
You're like, if you could just dial down the Sue.
Oh, and I do. I go, I hear you. I respect it. I don't try to like make people like, hey, you should be like me. I just go, I respect that.
You stay at the level of Sue that you're comfortable with. I love it.
People love to tell me to stop it too. I mean, all the time. Take it down, tamp it down.
I get that in the morning. I'm
not even doing anything.
I love it. Well, you have a natural energy about you. That's great. I get that from my kids and my husband in the morning because I'll wake up an hour to two earlier than them. And so
and then you're already at, yes.
And they're like, yeah. Well, do us a favor. Just give the audience a brief intro about, your background and what has us talking about joy today.
So I grew up in Boston, the inner city. I grew up in like the times when there was so much going on in Boston. Like I came to become a teenager during a lot of violence, a lot of bad stuff. So the Whitey Bulger was infiltrating the neighborhood with drugs. The judge created forced busing with one signature. And all the guys, the kids that I had gone to high school with, or we went to separate high schools, but high school age, a lot of the boys had been molested by the priests. So that all came to together. Somebody said to me, it's like you grew up in an oven. So my teenage years were like insane.
Yeah.
And so something about that caused me to do stand-up. And it's not a good thing. Like now looking back, I went to school for theater. And then when I tried stand-up, it reminded me of it felt like home to me, which was this volatile, dangerous mastery. Like I had to master this volatile thing. So in my head at the time, it felt like home. It took me away from acting and I started doing stand-up. But looking back, it's a very volatile, rough thing to do.
So I don't know a lot about stand-up, except I have serious respect for people that can do it, because there's a lot you've got to memorize and you've got to get your timing down and read the room and all that. And I do public speaking, so I get that part. But, I have little jokes I'm throwing in there. I'm not like, always on the whole time. But there's so much appreciation I have. I feel like it was either Jimmy Fallon or Adam Sandler that was like, yeah, you don't You see what I have now, but you didn't see me at 3 o'clock in the morning in some like back alley pub trying to like deliver my routine to, three drunk guys in the bar, right? Like
But that's what
there
I
were
mean.
some
It's like, who does
rough
that?
times.
Who
Yeah.
wants to do that? I mean, even Jerry Seinfeld said yesterday that he said not yesterday, he said at the speech he gave, he said that he just figured if I can just feed myself. And he goes, I only have one person to feed. He's like a peanut butter and jelly, or peanut butter and Wonder Bread. That's all I need. And it's like, that's what comics, that's the type of person that's drawn to comedy. So I grew up in an abusive household too. So all of that combined between my childhood, the neighborhood, the teenage years, it just, as soon as I stepped on stage to do stand-up, because also the other thing is when you step on stage, the audience is ready to attack. So it's not like public speaking. Public speaking, they're not ready to attack you. But comedy, they are. If they smell 1 ounce of vulnerability. But that's how I grew up. You couldn't show 1 ounce of vulnerability or they'd beat the daylights out of you. So there was something about mastering that. When I got on stage, I was like, oh, controlling it. But it was bad. It was I was putting myself in danger to control it.
Okay, I have to ask a couple of questions around that because
Okay.
I'm fascinated. So,
Okay.
you're growing up in a rough scenario, right?
Mhm.
Like not the ideal childhood
No,
that you,
bad.
if you had to rewrite it, you would not rewrite it the same.
I
And
think.
so,
I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
for bits and pieces, right?
No, I
But
don't know. I don't know if it really does make you who you are. I mean, I hate to say that because people get so mad. I mean, they're like, I would have been fine if that didn't happen to me. And I'm like, but it is where my joy comes from. So this is a joy podcast.
100%. 100%. What I'm curious about though, like I'm just saying if you have like a menu of options,
Sure.
maybe some of those wouldn't be the ones that you would
Yes.
first choose. But
But I
I'm
might be boring.
curious. Right.
So the
But
trade-off
then
is definitely there.
you go into stand up,
Yeah.
which you say is like extremely difficult and, the audience is ready to attack. I'm curious, like, why do you think you put yourself, you chose that path
I
where,
didn't choose it. When I got on stage, it felt like home.
oh, okay.
So when something feels like home, it feels good to you. It feels familiar.
Yeah.
But my home wasn't good, so inside it felt like what I should be doing, but it wasn't what I should be doing. It was dangerous. It was being a woman. It was chaotic. It was late nights. It was people treated you terribly. They don't treat comics with respect. I mean, but I
And
wanted
what,
to master. So in a sense, I was mastering my childhood by doing stand up. I was thinking I could control it and overpower it, which I could. I'm very good at it. I'm very good at it. I can handle any situation.
and did you get any joy, any
Oh yeah, because the power
like
of it. Yeah,
self-satisfaction or
absolutely.
fulfillment from doing it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also I
Yeah.
am very funny. Like I I was putting myself in a danger. I was using like a thing, it's a defense mechanism. So I was like using it
Mhm.
in a dangerous way instead of in a positive way. And comedy is that. Comedy is very, very negative. Like they've told me a million times that they don't know what to do with my energy. I mean, I can kill a room like nobody's business. And then they kind of they stand. I mean, even when I did, Brad recommended me to you, and Brad asked me, he said, Sue, why do you get attacked so much? And it made me feel good because I was like, at least somebody sees it. Because
Yeah.
I've always been like, I don't know. And it's my joie de vivre. It's my essence.
Uh-huh.
And so by doing the stand up the way I was doing it, I was kind of like co-signing my family and not being too shiny. So there's a
I
level of that.
I would also think, using comedy as a defense mechanism, like you kind of shut down somebody's ability to really get in, right? Because like you've done the self-deprecation ahead of time. So you kind
Mine's
of
more like
diffuse
mine was like defense. It wasn't well, it is a little self-deprecation, but it's more like get up there and
keeping people
control it and
out.
keep them away, keep them away, keep them away. And which is how I grew up. I mean, when I was a teenager, guys used to check me out and I'd be like, did you lose something over here? Like I didn't even know. So yeah, you put on a show. I was literally putting on a show. I was burying all my pain and then creating this, making people feel good. So that was the thing that I did too. I would take care of other people as a mechanism to not have to look at my own pain.
And then you moved from stand up to you had your own show.
Yes.
Tell me
So
a
I'm
little
like
bit
the
more about.
youngest and only woman to ever have their own sitcom like I did. And I still don't get It's amazing what happens with women, how invisible we are. I'm like, I still don't. I mean, people look at my show, Costello, now, and they're like, Sue, that would work now. That's the best show I've ever seen. And I'm like, yeah. So what is wrong with the way that we view women? That's not even being, that doesn't even get acknowledged. There's something about, I mean, I have all my work right now is about women.
Yeah.
All my work is about standing up for women in the way that we're treated, especially financially. The other stuff I feel like a flesh wounds. But so I have this sitcom that's like the best thing that they've ever seen. My feeling now is what happened was my they hire me because of my connection with the middle class people, with my people, but they want to use it as propaganda. So they want to use me. They want to give me a little bit of money, make me think that I'm famous, and then take what connects me to people and use it to sell their propaganda. They don't want me to get powerful to the people.
Help us
So
understand where it came from though. Like how did the opportunity even get
by
presented to
accident.
you?
So I moved from Boston to New York, but I knew I've always like been very self-aware. I wasn't emotionally ready to like become famous. So I've always been very humble. Like, so when I moved to New York, I was like, I'm not going to just put myself out there. I just was aware of probably of how much pain I was in too. So I wasn't ready yet to have that like spotlight on me. And
Mhm.
I went to Caroline's. I did a new talent show at Caroline's. So I was like a middler up in Boston. So you usually have an open middler headline. So I was a middler in Boston, and I went to New York and started doing open mics because I wanted to get really good and strong before anybody saw me. I was always aware of like unconsciously of like the manipulation of them taking a little bit of you and taking that essence and using it and then throwing you away. So I was always trying to control, like hold on to myself. Even when I was doing the stand up, I was still trying to hold on to like control it, how they saw me, how I handled it. And so they saw me by accident. The show got canceled downtown, like one of the big like alternative shows where all the agents and managers were. And so they came to the open mic, to the new talent showcase, and saw me. And from there, they sent the tape to LA, and then I went and had tons of meetings. And that's another thing. So I had all these pitch meetings. Like I had like 10 a day, and I would kill in every single meeting, every single meeting. I didn't know, I had no perspective. I didn't know that everybody couldn't do that. So because of my childhood, because of the way I was brought up, it was like I was just feeding myself to the lambs. Like I was just open to be exploited.
So they discover you in this open mic night. So I just want to walk people through who maybe aren't as familiar with your story. So you're at this open mic night, they come, they see you, and they say, there's something here. Like, she's the talent that we need. Send it to their executives in LA. LA must see something there too. And they bring you out to, I don't know, just kind of pressure test you and see if this
No, they
is.
pitch. You pitch. You. They want to see how funny. Yeah, how funny you are, and they want to. They literally want to buy you. They want to see if you're worth paying for. I mean, that if we want to keep it simple, it's
And
like
how long
product.
does that process actually take? So you're out there, kind
Like a
of
week.
like interviewing, right?
Yeah.
In the
So I
corporate
met with
world
like
would call it interviewing.
CBS,
Yeah.
ABC, Disney, all the production, all of the big networks. Yeah, they all
Yeah.
wanted me.
Yeah. And what actually ended up happening from there? You did get.
No, I got a pilot first. So I did my first pilot with CBS, which is a pilot is they shoot one episode to see if they're going to put it on the air. So my
Mhm.
first one was with CBS. And then from that pilot, they didn't, so somebody else had written it. It wasn't for me. I was cast into it. And then from that pilot, they didn't pick up the pilot, but they saw my acting talent. So now I was in the room telling stories funny. Now I've produced by acting under pressure. So now they really know that I'm a moneymaker. So then they're all fighting over me after that too. And so then I ended up doing another pilot for CBS. And that pilot didn't get picked up, but from my performance in that pilot, I got Costello,
And Costello was
my show on
TV,
Fox.
a TV like show on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did that run for?
We shot 8 episodes and there were 4 that aired. It was supposed to be the best thing that they ever saw. And now looking back, I can see I was in the I was walking to the dressing room, and the Marines were like hanging, or men were hanging over the rafters, like swearing, like "We effing love you, Sue." And I remember feeling like those are men. Like what
What
are they?
is happening?
What? And now looking back, I'm like, that is what it was. The power that I was going to have with the people. So
Do you
they
think did they plant them? Is that what you're saying?
No, no,
Or
no. I'm saying they
okay.
don't want somebody to have that much power. They want to manage you. They want to keep you as a product doing what they want to do. So my connection with human beings is you can't cage it. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
So when they saw that, they were like, oh, no, we can't let her get that powerful.
So you shot 8 episodes, 4 aired, and did they? And I think you kind of have some ongoing litigation, so feel free to just shut
No,
whatever.
that's from now. No, that's from now. So that was back then. So my first 2 TV deals with CBS with Les Moonves. Then I got Fox. So then I took myself out of the game purposefully. Because again, I said in the beginning, I wasn't ready to go through all that. And it was all just pure like vultures, like exploitation, like you would not believe, like just eating your soul. And I didn't want to do that. I always wanted to hold on to my talent. I wanted to be in full agency of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And as a woman, women can understand that. We want to be able to just be able to say what we want and what we don't want. And so I stepped out of the game, and I wanted to do it like the boys, because I can kill on the stage like the boys. And that's why I get a lot of heat too, because I can. I mean, they just don't like it. And I realized over my career, a lot of the men would pull me close. Like they'd let me, all of them would have me on their show, but I was always in second position.
Right. So you're just kind of like,
bring me close, put me on the big screen, but make sure I'm
like, we'll keep you right where we want you.
So that's how over the years I've been able to see what happened with Costello and because I didn't want to believe it. I did believe it in the beginning. I knew that sexism existed when I was on Costello. When I came back from Costello, they were having a women's panel at Stand Up New York. And I went there and raised my hand and said, we have to deal with the sexism. I go, if we don't deal with the sexism, we're never going to get anywhere. And the women yelled at me. They didn't want to hear it. And I was like, all right, well, I'm the one that was on the front lines. Okay.
And what timeline is this? Like what?
That was probably back in 2000. So the Costello was on 98, and maybe 2000. I went back to Stand Up New York in 2001 and told them like what I had seen. And then, so I just decided to forget it. And this is what all my work is about. I'm not trying to go out and gather a lot of women. I'm just going to do it.
Yep.
I'm just going to do it. And then all the women will benefit because they'll just snap in. Well, whoever wants to snap into it. But I'm not trying to organize anything, or I'm trying to just do it. I'm trying to break over that barrier. And then once I'm there, everybody will benefit from it. So I took time off, and I was like, I'm going to create so much content and so much material that I'll be undeniable. I'll do it like the boys. Because I was like Joe Rogan, all those guys. I don't say they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but I'm like, why can't I do it?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I do the same thing that they're doing? And I've always been like this. My confirmation name is Robert. I've always been like this. I was like, why do the boys get treated better?
Well, that's what this show is all about, right? Helping women push past the societal norms and like break through those limitations.
And they're so insidious. They're so insidious, but they're also very, very, very real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
talk
for
about
sure.
Microaggressions. Like there's microaggressions, there's medium aggressions, there's macroaggressions. There's I decided. I think I had they had asked me to come to China to do a tour in China. They came to me and asked me to do a tour in China. So I said, okay. And I remember I was up here working in Boston, and I was in Florida. The whole week I was in LA, Boston, and Florida or something. And I had to be in China in like August, and this was like April. And so the guy emailed me and he wanted my passport. And so I wasn't going to be home. I was away for a week. I wasn't going to be back in New York for a week. And so I told him, I said, listen, I'm in New York. My passport's expired. But as soon as I get back, I'm in Boston. As soon as I get back, I'm going to get it done. That was Wednesday. Friday, the guy emails me. He's the guy who's going to actually be on the tour with me. And he says, Sue, I need your passport. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's like bullying me. I just told him that I'm not home. And I'm like, I can't go to China by myself and have this guy. I can't. That would be my own fault if I went to China and did not acknowledge this. And so this is this is the first, like when it was like 7 years ago when I first started to stick up for myself. And I said, well, I understand. Like he said, people aren't. I said, well, why are you saying that to me? I said, I just told you on Wednesday. And he said, well, people aren't trustworthy. I said, well, I'm trustworthy. I go, can you at least give me the benefit of the doubt before you start pushing me? Yeah, that right. Next Saturday night, so that was like a Friday. Saturday, I was headlining up in somewhere up in the North Shore, and I was on my way to the gig, and the guy pulled my tour
because you didn't get him your passport.
Because I spoke up for myself.
Nice.
But I tell him Wednesday that I can't have it till Monday. He does something that puts me in a position that's impossible. I just told you. And then because I tell him that, can he please respect me? He takes my whole tour away. That has been my entire career. That's the financial abuse.
Amazing.
So I was supposed to go on tour in China all summer. That was thousands and thousands of dollars. Now he pulled my tour, and now I can't rebook myself.
Mm-hmm.
So this has happened so many times over my career. So the financial abuse happens to me. The sexual abuse doesn't happen to me because I'll open my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't get you that way, they'll get you
It's
another
like
way.
the softer thing, like the less tangible, I guess. Like, that the things that maybe at the surface feel like they're a little unexplainable. Like the sexual abuse is a little bit more tangible is the best word I can think of. Like concrete.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah, but the
understand.
financial, what they do to me is because I'm my power, the way they control my power is if I don't have money, then I can't really be powerful.
Yep.
So that's how they abuse me. So he did that, and I was sitting at my desk. I went back to New York, and I was sitting at my desk, and it was like my whole chest had bottomed out, and I was like, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it. What can I do? And then this voice came to me and it said, Sue, just go see Les Moonves. So Les Moonves is the one that gave me my first 2 CBS deals.
Mm-hmm.
Always knew how talented I was. Always knew how I connected with people. So I emailed him, and at the time he was, they were considering him the god of Hollywood. Like that's how powerful this man was.
Okay.
I, Sue Costello, haven't been in Hollywood for 20 years or something. Email the guy that they call God. Ask him to meet with me because I have an idea for a new TV show, which is a pro-woman TV show. He was in the press saying that if he had an older woman that was not an older woman, but a woman older than like 20 or whatever, had a great idea for a TV show, he would put it on the air. So here I'm like, okay. So I tell him, he knows
Why
I'm
not?
right.
Yeah.
He says, sure, come meet with me. Everybody knows I'm going to meet with him. Everybody's saying, oh my God, you're going to meet with God. Oh my God. They're still not registering my power.
Mm-hmm.
So as women, they just don't see us. No matter what
Yeah.
they just don't see you. And so I met with him, and I pitched him my TV show, and he told me, he's like, I never seen a human being like you, blah, blah, blah. And I left, and then I went back to him and told him that I would do my show with him because he told me don't sign any deals with anybody else. And I know that I told him I wanted to be like the boys.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in charge. I want to be the boss. And then so much went on. I mean, then somehow they were passing me around. Somehow it wasn't being clear. I kept trying to walk away. I was like, all right, I wasn't dying to do my show with him. I already knew I had created everything. I was like, and I saw how much he wanted my show. But then they kept kind of like blowing me off. And I was like, okay, bye. Like, I was like, I don't care. And this is the abuse system. So they like pull you in. It's like the mafia.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying, I don't care. And then they're pulling you in.
Yeah.
So they kept pulling me in.
Is there any pre-work you had to do to kind of like protect your show idea before you went to
that's
meet
the
with
thing.
them?
So that's a good question. So they give me the runaround a little bit, which could be just them trying to weaken me financially so that I don't know how valuable my show is and how valuable I am. That's part of the abuse too.
Mm-hmm.
They push away, pull you, push away. I mean, they do that on the micro level. A relationship can do that to you. Tell you you're great, then tell you you're ugly, tell you you're pretty, then you're ugly. Then I mean, they do that to me. Like, I hope everybody sees my joy when I talk about how horrible the things that happen to me.
No, but you know what? But there is joy throughout all of
Because
this.
once you just
Right?
make it through it and you just go, it's all nonsense. All that matters is what I do. It doesn't matter. I mean, they tell me like I look like a grandma. They tell me I look like a guy. They tell me I'm the hottest thing in the world. I'm like, I don't care. Whatever. Say whatever you want. Because it's all a tactic it's purposeful. It's to knock you down. It's to get you off your game. So anyway, they tell me I'm going to come out and pitch my show. I end up meeting an IP attorney. I say to myself, every time I have that voice, like I was like, I need an IP attorney. I met an IP attorney on the train. And she's like, Sue, I'll help. She's like, you can't go out and pitch your idea without any protection. Oh, because they have a like boilerplate that you're supposed to sign to protect them. So they can say, oh, we already had this in development. It's essentially a way for them to steal your TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But I was already willing to do it because I was like, all right, they're flying me out there. They get first dibs. They told me that I don't need to sign that. And so I'm like, wait a minute. And so the IP attorney said, Sue, you're not going out there unprotected. So I brought my own letter of protection to protect my idea.
Good.
So I was in the meeting with all the top executives at CBS. I mean, the top brass from the studio and the network. Les Moonves set up the meeting. And when they asked me to pitch my show, I took out the letter of protection, and they all stood up, told me to wait out in the lobby. As I was walking out, one of the guys grabbed it out of my hand, shoved me out of the room, and stole it.
Wow. Did you go Boston on him? Because I think I would have. I think I would have
No,
like
because that's the thing.
jumped on his
That's
back.
the thing. That's what they want women to do. Because think about it. I'm much more skilled now from doing all my stand up and everything. I'm like, I know like 50 levels beyond what I know. I know how to. I'm like, and so
You're like, "That's okay. I have 5 copies in my briefcase."
no, no,
We're
no, no,
good.
no. They stole it. No, 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 no. I didn't. So no, they want you. Can you imagine? Because an attorney said that to me. He's like, "Did you punch him in the face?" I'm like, "Okay, tell me how that would look." Little Sue Costello goes to meet with these executives, and I punch one of them in the face. Who's going to believe any of that? But that's what they do. They provoke you to act bad so that you look like the bad one, and then they get away with stealing your stuff. Trust me, I've been beaten up so many times that I'm like, I get it. I get
You
the whole
got it.
game.
Yep.
And so I went out into the lobby, and then he came out and he tried to shove his contract in my face. Sign it, sign it, sign. I said, I'm not signing it. I'm not signing that fucking thing. And I kind of knew that they still had my idea. But I knew what I was really focusing on is not signing away my idea myself. Because that's where the pain comes, is when I abandon myself.
Mhm.
I don't care what anybody does to me. As long as I don't abandon myself or participate in my own abuse, I can handle anything. And so he threatened me and he said, you're going to have to leave. And I did leave. And then when I got outside, I remembered that they had my idea still, that they never gave it back to me. And then
What
they called me later that day and said, they called me right away, but I didn't get it. And then they called me the next day and said, we want you to come back the next day, they said. And so I was like, what are they doing? And so I prepared myself. I brought another copy. And so when I got into the office, like, they roughed me up before I went in. They made me wait. They did all the tactics. And when I got in, they only had like the top page of my idea, not the other side. Like, they were supposed to sign the legal side and initial my idea, so you knew that this legal page protected this idea. They
Mhm.
only had the top page there, which means if they didn't have my idea attached, they could say, what is it attached to?
Yeah.
And I caught them and I pulled out my thing and they had to sign it.
So what
And
happened
then,
after that?
they proceeded to keep trying to try to pull me in, but get rid of me. Like, we like your idea, but we're not sure. No, we don't like your idea, but we like it, but we're not sure. Can you tell us more? And so I fought all the way because I still had to protect my idea.
Mhm.
So, of course, the normal question would be like, why would you go back to them?
Mhm.
Because they still had my idea. And if
Yep.
I didn't protect that idea, they would have made a show out of it and I would have had no leg to stand on. So go ahead. Do you have a question?
Well, yeah, 100,000 questions. So did this eventually turn into a show?
Mm. It turned into a deal. I negotiated my own TV deal and I negotiated it in a way that protected my idea, because that's what I was doing. I was just worried about them not stealing my idea. So I negotiated a deal. They were trying to screw me in all these other sides. I negotiated a way to protect my idea that I could buy the script back if they passed on it. That's unheard of. The
Okay.
WGA doesn't even let you do that. I negotiated that. But they thought they were bigger than me and they were just going to steal my idea.
Nice.
So they rushed me with the deal. And the attorney said to me, I said, so it was laid out like different payments. And I said, okay, so I get the first payment when I sign this deal. And he goes, no, actually, you get all the money when you send the script. And I wasn't completely aware because they were like trying to mess with my brain. But I know
Yeah.
my gut said, why is he trying to mess with me with a deal that I just signed?
Yep.
And I said, no, 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 no. I get the 15% when I sign this. And so he got me this 15% so quickly. Meanwhile, I said, was there a rush on the deal? And he said, no. And then they sent me an extremely urgent overnight envelope. And I'm like, something is not right here. And so I had no rush to send them my script. Development season was until September. And this was July.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm just going to wait a second. Something doesn't feel right.
Okay.
And I go and I do the WTF podcast, Mark Maron's WTF podcast. And I talk about all my negotiations. I tell him everything what I just told you. And we're talking about the Me Too movement. It's in the middle of the Me Too movement. Oh, by the way, when I went to pitch CBS in the fall, that was the day the Harvey Weinstein story broke.
Oh.
So everybody in Hollywood was
It's
always
a hot
already
topic.
crazy as it is. Oh my God, it was crazy. And now I'm pitching my pro woman show to these people that are terrified. And so then I do the Mark Maron podcast and he tells me he's going to postpone it. And I thought that was weird too. I was like, I thought it was going to be in June. And then he goes, no, we're going to postpone it till July 25th or something, or 26th. And I was like, all right. And then he said, we're going to have you on with Jim Gaffigan too. And I was like, when did it turn into me and Jim Gaffigan? And so on July 26th, the podcast dropped, the WTF, and he edited out all of my negotiations and only made it sound like I loved Les Moonves. And I was like, and I had already done 2 WTFs. So I had done 2 CBS deals and 2 WTFs. So I trusted these men because
Yeah.
and it was all edited. And I was like, because I even said, because Mark was very aggressive with me when he interviewed me. And I said to his producer, don't edit anything out, because my response was because he was aggressive with me. And he said, Sue, we don't edit anything. So that night when it dropped, my stomach dropped. I was like, they just edited this whole thing. They edited anything on my negotiations or anything. And I went back to him and he's like, Sue, we didn't edit anything. And I was like, oh my God, you're gaslighting me. I'm like, I have it right here, everything I said. And I said, we're in the middle of a women's movement about this stuff and you're gaslighting me. And that's what happened at CBS too. I was like, oh my God, this is like the suffrage movement. I'm like, people think this Me Too thing is something. I'm like, no, this is bad. This is really bad. And so he edited the WTF. And then the next day, so it was the 26th. So the next day, the 27th, the article dropped that Les Moonves was accused of all this sexual assault stuff. And I was in Times Square and my heart dropped and I was like, oh my God, the WTF just framed it to make it look like I love Les Moonves and now he can't be a sexual predator. I knew that they were trying to frame me to say that something happened between me. I knew it. I didn't know what it was. I just knew it in my gut. And so I went to the attorney at CBS who I did my deal with in September. And I asked him, I said, did you know that this story was coming out when you gave me my deal? Which they did. How could they not? Rowan and Farrow had to go to them, and they started losing their mind and then sending me to the internal investigation and blocking me and wouldn't let me do my deal and blocking me. And they never let me honor my deal ever.
Okay. So this, like, I have so many questions I could take in so many different directions, but so the show never happened. They gave you the 15%, all the promotion that you had started to do to kind of be like, wow, this is happening. This is it. Gets edited. Like, what do you do from there?
It wasn't the promotion. It was the way that it was that what I was saying about the women's movement. I was talking about what it's like to be a woman. This network was being taken. They were being called out for being sexist. I was like, I was being rational in the reality of what was going on.
Yeah.
But he edited it to make it sound like I just loved Les Moonves and took away all my woman power. I mean, one of the lines he took out was that I said, I want to show younger women that as you get older, you can get more powerful. He took that out. And I was like, that has nothing to do with CB. I'm like, why would he take that out? So I was like living what I already knew I was living, that they were taking away my power. They were literally editing me.
So knowing how much power you have and like how much experience you have and how good you are, like on your own and your energy, why not just take that to the internet and blow up the internet with like your truth?
Well, that's what I was going to do. No, that's not what I was going to do. I didn't know that they were going to do this to me. So the reason why I'm not doing that is because I'm in a lawsuit with them right now because they breached my contract. What they were doing was, the Me Too thing that they did about Les Moonves, they just brought these women forward from the 90s. I don't know whether it happened to them or not, but it was from the 90s to throw the Me Too movement onto him so that they could force an illegal merger. And what they were going to do with me, because I fit right in the whole thing, was they were going to steal my TV show and throw me into the Me Too movement, make it sound like something sexual happened with me and Les Moonves, thinking that I would just take the money, the payoff for the sexual thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, how's that working out?
Not working out at all, because I have a federal lawsuit against them right now. And not only that, I was called into the New York AG's office they were doing a securities fraud investigation and started asking me about what happened with Les Moonves. And I'm like, what's something as big is going on here, because what am I doing in the New York AG's office? Yeah, I have a federal lawsuit. Yeah, because they breached my contract. And the other thing is the WGA is my union. My contract says on it, I do not get paid per the WGA unless I deliver my script to the head of the comedy studio at CBS Studios. I couldn't get paid and they would not let me deliver it to her. So once they wouldn't let me deliver it to her, I was like, and then the WGA, they advised me to send it to the guys who committed the fraud with my contract. And I'm like, something's wrong. Why are they doing this? I'm like, my contract says what I need to do.
Yeah.
So they had committed fraud with my contract.
So this has been going on, I think you said when we
7
first
years.
met, 7 years. Yeah.
In July, it'll be 7 years.
So you're at the end of the 7-year itch.
Yes.
What does the future hold?
Well, I want to win my case. And then once I win my case, I'm going to show what they do to women. And then I still have my script. So once I win my case, I wanted to reset the table because like you said, why don't you just go on the internet? I'm like, because that doesn't solve the problem. Me going on the internet does not solve the problem. The problem
Mhm.
is the system is set up this way. It
Yeah.
doesn't solve the root of the problem. And until that gets fixed, nothing's going to change. So I was like, oh, I'll fix it.
Yeah,
Go
I
after
got
them.
it.
Go after them in their wallet. They never, I mean, I caught them. They're so mad that a girl from Dorchester caught them. They're so mad.
And I love it's Dorchester too.
They're so mad because they think
So
I'm like a dumb
perfect.
blonde because I have an accent. I'm like, that was like, well, probably my superpower. They kept underestimating me. When I was in the AG's office, she was trying to like rough me up and she was like an ex DOJ prosecutor and I didn't even flinch. I was just like, what are you talking about? I was like, what? And they were just trying to make me not see what happened. That's all that was going on. So when the time comes, when I win my case, I'm going to go out and just speak very clearly and calmly and show women exactly what they do along the way and how it happens.
Now you do a lot of coaching. I want to make sure, people know that so they can connect with you. Here's your email, sue@suecostello.com. So this is
Well, I just
on the
started doing
screen and
the coaching and it's turn out really well. I do a lot of it for stand up, but I also do it for business people. It doesn't matter who it is. What I
yeah.
realized the other day, what I'm able to do is I'm able to work with somebody, have them tell me their life or tell me what's going on, and I'm able to like siphon out all the trauma, show them what's good, and then they build their life from what's good.
Yeah.
I
Sounds like you
connect
have
the
a future as a joyologist. I don't
I
know.
do. I don't know what a joyologist is, but maybe
Well,
I do.
I'm the only one.
Oh,
So,
you are?
I do have this vision of the Institute of Joy where there are other
Yeah, you're the
joyologists.
OG. Well, so where joy comes in all this
Yeah.
is there is something about, I mean, other people say this. I'm not the only one to say this, but there's something about the pain, allowing the level of pain to happen that brings the joy.
Yeah.
Moving from the pain. Not they say like don't get bitter, don't get better, don't get bitter. I mean, that's as simple as I can put it.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. I mean, I talk a lot about I think I shared with you that my younger son when he was 10 attempted suicide, and that was obviously a really horrific time in our lives, but I can look back at that time now with gratitude because of all the amazing things that have come from that and how he's thriving. I mean, he just got inducted into the National Honor Society, right? Like he's doing great. He still can't clean his room. I just want to make sure that that is abundantly clear. But for the
But in the
things that
grand scheme of
matter,
things,
yeah, it's no big deal, right? Like nobody's hurt, nobody's bleeding, nobody's dying, right? But being able to illustrate to people where the greatness is amidst all of the trauma or the drama or whatever it is really powerful. And I tell people all the time, you can have joy amidst trauma. That's how we healed him, was to find the joy in the moment. Was the moment joyful? No, but there is joy all around you and you can connect to it. And that's what it sounds like you're doing, right?
well, that
Like you're
reminded me of my brother-in-law's father died, and the kids were in the wake. They were little,
yeah.
and they were kind of like on their phone, awkward, and all the adults were coming in, and they were like, "Hi, I'm sorry," and like my nephew was like, "How come Papa's not talking?" And I'm like, "Oh, nobody talks to the kids because everybody's in pain. I understand why
Yeah.
they didn't talk to them." But I took the kids and I brought them out in the car. And as we were walking up the line for the wake, my little nephew was like saying hi to everybody. And that was relieving them. It was relieving the
Yeah.
people in line. And then when we sat in the car, we had like a dance party picnic or something. And my intent was, it's already bad enough.
Yeah.
This is already like a lot for them to handle. I don't want to compound that and make it that much that it's hard for them to dig out, or that it's a memory that would be so bad. So there, and everybody always says that there's something funny. Like there's always jokes when something's really bad or morbid or tragic. You have like that's why I do what I do for a living, because my comedy is all about how tragic it is being a human being. That is my comedy. Like the absurdity of how I mean, and the more like courageous I get. Like I was on stage in Cambridge, and this woman was talking about how her mother died and she didn't know that her father wasn't her father. And I couldn't stop laughing because I'm like, how bad, like how angry do you have to be to not tell your daughter and make her find that out? And then I was like, oh, there's probably so much material there about this death thing where people just like don't give inheritances, or what they do just
Oh yeah.
show you. Like it's so absurd to me. I've
Yeah.
never understood that level of like anger and hatred. Like it's a lot of it is nonsense to me. But
Yeah.
I understand that it hurts people deeply. But because I make it less heavy, it helps people be like, oh, maybe it doesn't have. Because if what are you going to do? Like, you're either going to go down the rabbit hole or you're going to stay a little bit more buoyant.
Mm-hmm.
And I always choose to be more buoyant. And the most important thing I want to say though is that it's only when I abandon myself that I get angry or bitter.
Yep. Well, that's your body's way of telling you you're out of alignment. You're absolutely right. Yep.
Well,
I want to
I'm
make sure.
engaging and hurting myself. I'm throwing myself into the abuse. I'm allowing it. That's why I did my lawsuit. I'm like, I don't care what happens in the end. I know I already won, but I'm never going to lose because I didn't do it. I'm never going to lose because I quit. I'm never ever 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 rolling over. I'm never going to lose because I quit.
You've already won. Yep. I love it. I want to make sure people also know to subscribe to your YouTube channel, which is
Yes.
Bostello1. So boss, like the boss that she is, TELLO1. Well, what will they find there?
They're going to find, I'm going to do my Sue TV. So during the pandemic, I did this Sue TV on Facebook. I didn't really, so you asked me about the internet. The reason
Yeah.
why I didn't do it too big is because I don't want them to come after me. I don't want CBS to have anything to go after to hurt.
Yep.
So I'm waiting. I'm grooming it and getting it ready so that when the time comes, it'll be all ready. So I have this thing called Sue TV that I would just go on Facebook during the pandemic and I would talk about, I would predict what was happening. I would do essentially what I do in my coaching sessions. I would look at the world and I would find all the good. And then I would say, this is going to happen. And then it would happen. And everybody still comes to me and they're like, Sue, you said this on Sue TV. You predicted it. I had a journalist say to me, Sue, I have Ivy League people doing pressure tests on what's going to happen in society. And you're just sitting on your floor saying it. So I've always been like this, but because of the way I look or because I'm from Dorchester, people, they can't imagine what, but wait till they see what I did. Wait till they see, I did my own lawsuit. I'm representing myself. I did my own contract. I have my TV show. And I'm going to say, this is what it took for people to see me.
Yep. But
This
you never gave up. And that's what matters. And people need to understand that, so long as you don't give up on yourself, you will never lose.
And they want you to give up on yourself. They'll torture you to give up on yourself. They want you to doubt yourself. I mean, that's all that's going on with me. I'm like, they think I'm stupid. I'm like, why am I in the AG's office? Why do I have a federal lawsuit? I'm like, why are you robbing me? I'm like, if I'm nothing, I'm like, shut up. It's so stupid to me, huh?
No, I was just going to say, this has been an awesome, awesome discussion. And I first want to make sure I thank you for, your authenticity. You don't have to be here. You don't have to share, but you are helping and inspiring other women just by sharing, and probably healing yourself more and more and more, the more that you talk about it as well.
Yeah, there is something about testifying. There's something about saying it out loud because we're muzzled. I mean, I'm surprised at how much of my life I've kept secrets. So what happens is it takes two to tango. I never got that because I don't want to be a victim ever. And I'm like, how do I get myself out of this victim thing that I've been in? It's that I've kept the secrets, and abusers want you to do that so that they can keep abusing people. Yeah. It's not because they just want to dump their guilt and their shame so that they can keep abusing people. So I'm participating in the abuse of people if I'm doing that. That's another reason why I have my lawsuit, because they've hurt so many women that if I don't do this, I'm complicit. They're actually forcing me to be complicit. I would never hurt women ever in my whole life. And I'm like, so if I do that, I'm allowing them to force me to be complicit to hurt women, and I'm not doing it.
And it's a hugely, complex, but also pretty simple scenario. And for people listening, I want you to draw the parallel to what Taylor Swift went through with her music. Yep. That's what Sue is saying.
Yes.
Right. So Taylor Swift very clearly did all the work, but obviously, some advisement was missed somewhere along the line and all of her music was stolen and she had to re-record it all. But she came back and she was like, I'll do that and I'll do it better and it'll all be mine. And now she is a billionaire with many, 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 many zeros after her name. So,
they don't want women. They don't want us to have the money. They don't. They thought they were going to take my show and do the same thing essentially they did to me with Costello. Take my idea, name it after me, but make all the money.
Yep. And what the phrase that helped me get through, that whole situation with my son is trouble is your transportation. And that means, you got to hang on during the time. You don't know how long it's going to be. You don't exactly know why you're going through it, but it's leading you to a bigger, better, more beautiful place. It's just really hard to see that when you're in the middle of it. And so,
if you grow as a person throughout it. That's the thing. If you grow as a
Yeah.
person, every time I grew as a person, I mean, even when I was pitching, like when I was trying to get an attorney to help me with my show, they were foaming at the mouth. They wanted all the money. And I'm like, I must have something on my hands. And I read my lawsuit to one of my friends one day that didn't know a whole lot of the story. And she was like, Sue, this just sounds like everybody's trying to get your money before you get your money. And I'm like, that's what's happened to me my whole career.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yes. They saw
In
me as money.
summary.
Yes. And I'm going to get my money. So that's to speak to you saying why on the internet, because I'm going to take the money that they owe me and I'm going to become their competition.
Yep. And I love it.
And they're going down right now. Paramount is going down. They can't sell their company. They're going down.
But you're not. And I love it.
No, I'm going to win. I'm going to be.
Any parting words as we wrap today's show? I'm like I said, I'm filled with gratitude and amazement that you're willing to share all that you shared. What are some parting thoughts that you might want to leave women with that are, maybe they're not dealing exactly with what you're dealing with, but conceptually they probably are. And they're feeling like maybe they just should like stay small and
to speak up. And this is what I want to say, to speak up, do it consciously and know you're going to get hit. Not necessarily physically, but no, because this is what happens. Let me just say this very clearly to everybody. This is what happens. When you say no the first time, the person that's trying to do something bad to you, all the shame goes back on them. So they were already doing it. And if you went along with it, then they don't have to feel the shame. So when you say no, all that shame goes back on them. And you'd think that would make them change. No, it makes them hurt you worse. They want that double shame to go back on you. So it's the third time you say no. It's not the first time. It's not the second time. It's the third time, because you have to make it through all those times for them to see that you're not around, that you're serious. And then what happens is they get scared, because predators are the most afraid of their victim.
I couldn't have said it better. I love it. Sue, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
I appreciate the candor, the honesty, and your energy. I'm so glad you brought it, because
I can't help it. This is just who I am.
I'm a consumer of it. Like, let's do this.
I can't help it. This is just who I am. I'm like a lightning bug. I just am. That's why I went to judge. I'm like, they've been doing my case through emails. I went down there the other day. I was like getting all my information. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do a lawsuit through an email. I'm like, let that judge meet me, like see me.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be able to hurt me when they meet me.
You go, girl. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, that was our latest episode of Joy Unleashed. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Well, that was a great episode with Sue Costello, and I hope you could feel her energy the entire way through. What happened to her was not okay. I love that she came on and was so authentic. And, joy isn't always, sunshine and rainbows. And there are lots of times where, you have to really dig deep to find joy in the midst of a traumatic situation or a struggle or, a confrontation, or in her case, a lawsuit, right? This lawsuit has been going on for 7 years. How does she keep herself going? She stands firmly in her truth. And that's today's joy tip of the day, really. And we talked about it after the show, that it's really about that alignment, making sure that you are always leading with your heart. When you trust your gut, when you trust your intuition, everything works out the way it's supposed to. And for her, she knows that she was wronged. She knows what happened. And whether it takes, 7 years, 7 more weeks, 7 more days, it doesn't matter. She knows her truth, and she's going to stick with it for as long as it takes. Thank you for tuning in to Joy Unleashed. As always, it's my honor to be your host and joyologist, Coleen Greco. Follow me at the Coleen Greco on Instagram for daily motivation and inspiration. And don't forget to leave my show a review on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, sisters.